Today on Funner to Do It, we're going to do a comparison between our two gravel bikes. On the right, we got my wife's Specialized Diverge. This is the 2022 model. And my bike is the 2022 Diamondback Haanjo 3. Stay tuned, and we're going to talk about the differences between these two bikes and the good and the bad. First of all, let's start off with the two differences. Let's go frame and forks on them. My wife's bike is a full aluminum frame. The Diamondback is also a full aluminum frame. I did mention they're gravel bikes. What do you say is the difference if you're not familiar with a gravel bike between a road bike? They do look like road bikes, but these are actually gravel bikes. The difference, the short of what a gravel bike and a road bike is, and there's a little bit more that goes into it. One of the big differences is ride height. You can see there's a lot more room between the forks on these two bikes, giving you a slightly higher ride height so you can put fatter tires on it. The tires is one of the big things with a gravel bike, because it gives you a little bit more traction than what you're going to get off of a road bike. But you can still transition to the road and ride them like a road bike. The other major difference is, instead of being a road bike is more compact, the frame is kind of squished in a little bit so you can hunker down. Your handlebars a little bit lower so you can get that down to aerodynamics and that speed. A gravel bike is stretched out a little bit more, so it's got better handling. It's also got a slightly higher handlebar stance on it, a little bit wider. I mean, it's just enough so you have, it's all about the control. They are slightly more reinforced than what a road bike is going to be, just because it's got to handle the roughness of the terrain. My bike doesn't have it, but the other major difference that they'll put on some gravel bikes is the suspension. Primarily, my wife's got it up in the handlebars, and we'll get to that when we get down to the handlebars and suspension. So the forks on these bikes are significantly different. The fork on my Diamondback is a aluminum fork. It's also a slotted front axle. It's a solid axle with the slots on it. The old school, if you want to call it. So it's a solid front axle that's slotted and it's full aluminum. My wife's bike, on the other hand, the Specialized, is a through axle. So it's got the better axle on it. This is also a carbon fiber axle frame forks on it, which makes it considerably lighter than my aluminum. It's also a lot stronger because of the carbon fiber on it. So what I was talking about with suspension, which my wife's has and mine doesn't, is what they call the future shock. And what it is the handlebars. You can see it's actually got that suspension in the handlebars. So the suspension goes down here. This is fully adjustable to make it softer, firmer, or whatnot. But this is a premium upgrade that you're going to get on a gravel bike. And let me tell you, it works. We went on a trail just yesterday where we took both of the bikes through, and in the past it was more of a smoother trail, but now with all the rain, all the gravel rolled up off, washed up onto the trail, and you got some pretty good thick river rocks on there. When we hit the river rocks, I felt like my brain was going to vibrate out my ear on the bike without it. And I looked over at my wife because I was thinking, she ain't going to like this. And she's just riding along like nothing's happening. And that's when I decided to hop on her bike and try it. And I tell you what, it makes a huge difference. It doesn't make the difference as much in the feeling in your arms as far as getting tired. It's in your head. Because when you're doing that, your whole body is rough. So I felt like my head was just bouncing. When I got on this bike, it took up all that shock, and I didn't feel like my head was bouncing up very high. So love it. Absolutely love it. I do believe I can upgrade my bike to it, and that will be one of the first upgrades I do on this bike, is get some sort of a shock suspension up front. We talked about my wife's awesome headset here. I can't tell you how jealous I am of that thing. What the Diamondback has, it's a sealed cartridge. It's a solid head. It's not bad. I mean, I don't have any complaints about this. If I was just primarily staying on the road, I'd have no problem with it. But Down here where we ride, we do go on a lot of gravel, and I'm telling you, I do want that comfort of that suspension on there. Handlebars, they're the drop handlebars. I can't remember the width of these, 20 whatnot. They're the standard handlebars on it. They're pretty nice. My wife's are the same thing, just a little bit of a different configuration. These pop up a little bit higher, so as it comes off, you can see it rises a little bit. They're not quite as flared out as mine. They're a little bit narrower that come in. Pretty nice. The wrap on the Specialized is 10 times nicer than what Diamondback puts on, which is to be a figure. I would figure that because the bike is significantly more expensive than Diamondback, so I would surely hope that you're going to get the premium wrap on there. We'll step into the brakes. My wife's has full hydraulic brakes, front and rear. They're sealed. They are hydraulic filled, and they're super, super easy to apply. You don't really have to put a lot of pressure on these hydraulic brakes when you activate them, which is exactly what my wife wanted. When you're riding and you're trying to do this, as opposed to coming down here like that where you can get a lot of strength, these you can really just feather them and you're going to get really good brakes. The Diamondback, on the other hand, are mechanical. They're still disc brakes, which is good, but these are mechanical brakes. So when you have mechanical brakes, if you're going down a big hill or you're doing, you need to do a really hard controlled stop, if you don't have that strength in your hands, you're going to have to come down here to really pull on them. And you really don't want to be down in that position too often. So having this position up here for my wife, it's a game changer. You do pay up for the hydraulic brakes. I mean, you have to jump to a fairly expensive bike to get a hydraulic brakes. But if you're really looking for safety, hydraulic brakes is where it's at. Full suspension. The difference when it comes to it is this bike, the Diamondback Haanjo, is an 18 speed. The Specialized is an 11 speed. I have 18 speeds because I've got a dual sprocket on the front with a front derailleur, and then I got the stacked gears in the back with the rear derailleur. My wife's bike, when you look at it, it has the single sprocket up front, so there's no derailleur on the front. All the shifting is done off of this large stacked gear in the back. That's the major difference. That's why there's only 11 on this one and 18 on that one. I got 9 in the back, 2 in the front. When I switch to the front, it gives me the higher gears, and when I switch it down, it gives me the lower gear set. So 1 through 9, switch up front, 10 through 18. Sorry, I had to do some math in my head real quick. I'm not good at that. That's the major difference. Now, gravel bikes are more commonly going to this style with that single front sprocket because you need more on the gravel. You need more of the lower gears to get that power, because oftentimes you're climbing hills, you're going through rougher terrain, so you don't oftentimes need those speed gears. And the speed gears are when you get up into that 11, 12, 13, 14, when you get up all the way out that 18, those are road gears. I mean, some of the road bikes will do 35, 40 miles an hour on their higher gears. I wouldn't do that on gravel, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to do that on gravel, which is why they have just the lower gear set. So on my wife's bike, there's only one gear shifter on it. It's just on the right side. And it's got 3 separate settings, and they come in the form of a click and how far you push it over. If you're riding and you want to go faster, which means it's pedaling harder, and you want the chain to go down the gear set, you hit it once. You hear the one click, and that's shifting it down, making it harder to pedal. If you want to make it easier to pedal, which is shifting that chain back up the gear set, which makes it easier to pedal, you listen and there's 2 clicks. It goes a little bit further in and it clicks. And that is sending that chain back up the gear set, making it easier to pedal. If say you're all the way down, you're in the hardest gear, you're pedaling your butt off, and you hit a hill, you have to switch really quick. If you take it and you shift it all the way over to the left, that's going to take that derailleur and just run that chain straight up to the easiest gear and reset your thing to your gear set to start going back down. You want to go back up, all the way over, and then it starts going down. So my wife really loves that feature on this bike because she doesn't want to have to worry about that front gear set. Worrying, am I in my top 9 gears or am I in my bottom 9 gears? And that's how the Diamondback is set up. The Diamondback is set up like a regular road bike. So the Diamondback, all my shifting is done with my 2 handlebars, my 2 brake levers. I got a control here and I got a control there. So I got 2 functions. Both handlebars, both brakes do it. So I got that and I got that. What that's doing, when I click the inner one in, it's taking that gear set and it's going down, making it harder to pedal. When I do that, it's sending it back up, making it easier to pedal. Same thing here. This makes it harder to pedal, sending it down the gear set, and this makes it easier to pedal, sending it up the gear set. Once you're riding it, you're used to it, and it's not that confusing. But having all those different levers, as soon as my wife saw that, she was like, I like the Specialized better, because the Specialized, like I said, there's no sideways on here. It's only got the one control. That's all you have to worry about. I like that. That is pretty cool. I have to say I'm jealous of that feature too on there. But you get used to what you're actually riding. And again, this bike is twice as expensive as this bike. So keep that in mind when I'm going through these reviews. I'm not bashing the Diamondback because I love my bike. But the Specialized, you get what you pay for is what it comes down to. You get the goods. As far as the gear sets go, on the Diamondback, you're going to get pretty much all Shimano. It's the Shimano Sora in the back, Shimano Sora Hero here. I believe the gear sets, everything is all Shimano, which is a really decent gear set. I believe the brakes are also Shimano Sora. So you are getting all Shimano components on here for your brakes, your gear sets, and everything else, which is a good set. It's not top of the line, but it's not bottom of the line. It's like everything on the Diamondback. It just kind of flows to a really nice package. They put an excellent package together for this Diamondback. For the price tag you're going to pay for this bike, you actually are getting a little bit more for your dollar when you buy the Diamondback. The Specialized, it has SRAM brakes. It also has the upgraded SRAM derailleur and everything on it, so it's just a little bit better. Of course, I was talking hydraulic brakes. You're going to get that extra bonus when it comes to buying the Shimano. You're just going to upgrade your items. Not to say that you can't upgrade the Diamondback. The Diamondback is all upgradable, exactly like this is, but then you're putting that money back into it. You're driving that price tag up. Rims and tires. This is where I'm always surprised at how much heavier my bike is compared to my wife's bike. And I'll get you the weights on the 2 bikes, but her bike is significantly lighter than my bike, and it becomes in to the rims. My rims, the Diamondback has aluminum rims, where the Specialized has the carbon rims. The weight difference on this thing is just, this bike is just like lifting a paperweight. It is so light, I can't even get over the distance on it. Now, the Diamondback isn't too heavy to, I mean, it's not like I'm straining to pick the Diamondback up. It's just, there's a huge difference between the weight. I think her bike weighs something like 8 pounds lighter than my bike. Now, my bike is taller. I do have slightly bigger rims. I don't know if I have, no, I don't think I have slightly bigger rims. Either way, my bike is a little bit bigger, but it's not 8 pounds bigger. And it comes in to the fork being a carbon fiber and the rims being carbon fiber. So you do get a lot of weight saving in here, and it makes a huge difference on when you're riding. We did add the rear carriers onto these. What's cool about this is that both bikes have attaching points for the rear carrier. I got this off of, we bought them at different stores. So I got my rack at one store. She got her rack at Specialized, but same thing. She's already got the mounting points on her Specialized for the rear rack. It also has, hers has mounting in between the frame right here. We both put the cup holders on. There's mounting points on there. She has 2 extra mounting points on the front of her forks if you want to put fork bags on this bike. Really cool. My bike, I have the 2 in the middle here. I do have to worry about my derailleur getting in the way of whatever I put there because I have a front derailleur. She doesn't. Like I said, I have the back one here and I have 1 bag mounting point on the front. So she's got the extra mounting points on the fork. And of course I have the same cup holder that she bought for the mounting. We also both added the phone holders, aka our GPS. Too cheap to buy a real one. We use our phones. So we both have our phones mounted on there. And I have an aftermarket GoPro mount that I threw onto my handlebars so I can do some filming when I'm on the road. Seats is about the last thing on here. Diamondback just comes with their standard seat. To be honest with you, it's actually fairly comfortable. I feel I fatigue less on this one than I do on my Pedagos. So I like the seat. I can't remember who the maker was on the seat. The Specialized seat, it's kind of the common theme of the whole thing. My wife's bike is just nicer. It's just better. She's got a pretty cool seat. She's got airflow so she can get some cooling onto her butt when she's riding. It's contoured a little bit different. It's a pretty comfortable seat. I forget who the maker is here. I'll see if I can figure that out and put it in the comments. I already know what I'm going to get in the comments is why are we being dorks and we have kickstands on our bikes? Well, I'm old school. I never had a kickstand on my bike when I was younger. It was just kind of, we would ghost ride it, let's just call it that, hop off, and wherever it landed is where your bike sat for the evening or wherever you were at your friend's house. I know a lot of people just find somewhere to have to put it up against the wall. Personally, we just like them. The important thing is that we're getting out riding, we're doing what we're doing, and when we get somewhere, we have to go to the bathroom, we want to stop and rest, we want to do something, grabbing and digging stuff out of your backpack, your back bags. The kickstand just makes it so much nicer. It's just easier to do. So you make fun of us, say whatever you want, but we do have the kickstands. We did install these. I believe these came from Amazon. I'll put the link in there just in case anybody feels the way we do. They just clamp on. They actually do have rubber on here, so it's not crushing the frame. So it's not scratching them, but they clamp on. They're rubber. They're pretty solid. They're adjustable for height. They work really well. I love them. When they go up, they are well out of your pedaling area, so they're perfect. I love them. We both put them on this bike. Keep in mind, any link that we actually put in on Amazon, we will get a residual off of our affiliate link on it. It kind of helps support the channel. We're dorks. We have kickstands. Let's just put it that way. The one other thing I kind of want to go over here is in the beginning of the video, I did mention these are 2022 models. Both of them are 2022 models. I did look up the specs on the 2024 Haanjo 3, and it is different. What they did on the Haanjo 3 is they do have, I even believe it's a carbon fiber front fork on it with a through axle. So it's got the same style fork, not the same fork. It's got the same style fork as a Specialized. They did put a carbon fiber, and it's now got a through axle on it instead of the slotted axle on the front. The other thing they changed on it is they're no longer using SRAM. I believe they're using, I can't remember what it is, I'll put the name of what they're using on it now. And the big difference on that is it's now a 9-speed bike. What that means is they eliminated the extra sprocket up front. They only got the single set of gears on front, no front derailleur, and all your shifting happens in the rear, just like the Specialized does. I didn't find a whole lot of difference. They are using the same tires. They're using the same rims, I believe, the same handlebars. Looks like it's the same seat. The forks were at the same specs as it. We're into pricing now. What did we pay for these two bikes? The Diamondback, when I bought it, it was $999. Like I said, it's a 2022. They still do have some 2022s left in stock. I did find one on the internet that I looked up. It's still at $999, so it's the same price. If you go with the Haanjo 3, the 2024, with the carbon fiber fork and the different gear shifters, it is now a $1,300 bike. So you are going to pay more money now for the Diamondback. What they put on it is about equivalent to what it has on it right now, with the differences between the fork and the extra gears. So $999 for the 2022, $1,300 for 2024. My wife's, the Specialized. This model is still available. They didn't make any updates to it that we actually could find. Price, the price that she paid for it is $2,500 back in 2022, and it's still $2,500 that they're selling them for. However, right now there's a $500 discount on them. They're selling this bike right now for $2,000. So the differences between the two bikes, that one and her bike, is about $1,500 when we bought them, which is why I opted for the Diamondback, because I was happy with the manual brakes that have on it and the extra features. I am still jealous of the neck. I'll keep bringing that up, and I'm going to always keep bringing that up, but I'm jealous of it. Today, if I was to make this same purchase, and let's step back to that, at $1,300 and this one at $2,000, it's kind of a no-brainer. I would spend the extra money and pick up a Specialized for the extra $700, because it is a much nicer bike. You get the suspension, you get the carbon fiber frame, you get the carbon fiber fork, you get the really cool shifter, only one speed. It's a better bike, and it's always been a better bike. And I'm not knocking my Diamondback, because I love my Diamondback. But when it comes down to it, had those prices been the way they are right now, I would have went with the Specialized. But the weight of these two bikes, my wife's bike, since she's got the smaller frame, they spec these out at 20 to 22 pounds. It's really a 20-pound bike. So 20 pounds, really light bike. It gets lighter. That's for the base model. They call it the basic carbon, which would be the rims and the axle. If you get the carbon frame, it really drives that that weight even further down. The Diamondback is 24 to 26 pounds. So I was wrong. It's about a 6-pound difference, because I have the bigger version of it. So it was really a 26-pound bike. So 20 pounds, 26 pounds. The 6-pound difference, which is fairly significant when you're talking about weight. My wife wouldn't have had a problem lifting this one up, but when you pick these two bikes up, there's a big difference between the weight of these two bikes. So that was another major factor on why she wanted the Specialized. The biggest factor was the brakes. I mean, this really comes down to it, was the brakes. She needed the brakes because she doesn't have the strong enough grip to feel comfortable controlling the brakes on a downhill when she's on the top of the bars. So for anybody who asks, what's my contraption on the back of my bike? I've done a video. I think there's another video on earlier video that I did with our Pedigo bikes. It's a fishing rod holder. So we go on a lot of bike rides around here that are we live right out by the Savannah. We go to campgrounds where there's usually a lake, or there's always some body of water there. And I love to fish. So we always take a detour and I fish a little bit. So this is a really cool place. I can stick 2 rods in here, and they're just off the back of the bike, and I can take my fishing stuff with me all the time. We have side saddles that we can put on there, and we can also strap something down to the front of it. So really cool little contraption here for carrying my fishing poles. Kind of brings back, now let's look at the why. Why do we buy gravel bikes? We have Pedigo bikes. You may have seen the review on that. Why do we buy gravel bikes? Personally, we want the freedom of not worrying about when that battery is going to die. The Pedigos, every time we take it out now, we end up maxing out the battery life and trying to pedal a pedigo without a battery. If you want a good workout, grab a pedigo and just take the battery off and try riding it somewhere. You're going to get a heck of a workout. The gravel bikes, we can still do the same trails we've done before. It's an easier ride. They're lighter to get on and off the back of the truck. They give you a really good workout, but they also give you you can have as hard of a workout as you want, because they coast a lot better than what the fat tire pedigos do. We really like that. We started off with the pedigos. It was able to get us off our butts, get us off the couch, get us riding. We did get a good workout with the pedigos, but we reached that point now where we can hop on these bikes and take a 5-mile trip on them. I don't know if we've done 10 miles yet. I think we've done 1 or 2 10-mile trips. It's just the freedom of it. It's really fun to ride these bikes. I hope you got something out of the video. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey, and whatever you decide to buy, if you want to go out and buy a Target bike or a Kmart, just go ahead and let's show my age. If you want to buy a Target, Walmart, go to your local sports shop, buy a bike, get out there and explore, get out there and get some exercise and be in nature. It's super fun. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you got some information on these 2 bikes and what we bought. Until then, happy adventures and happy trails.